Wonderful. I also want to understand a couple of things from you, Pearl, because the climate angle and the climate nuance to the work that you're doing is very interesting. I also want to touch upon a couple of things which we feel have very high intersectionality in the work that we do. When I say intersectionality, now there may be areas which may have projects of their own, but even if not, they literally can touch every aspect of the work that we do. And one of those that I'm hearing a lot about, other than climate change, is mental health. There is so much focus on mental health today that people are talking about, not only in a social impact context, in every context. So help us understand, is there an importance of mental health in rural India? Is rural India more about, or still about, roti, kapda, makan, and pani, or is mental health playing a role? Just unbox that for us a little bit.
Yeah. So let me tell you that it's been a tremendous learning for us in the last 3 years. So let's take health in general. We were working on maternal and child health because that was a critical area, like you said, well before the Ashas came into being, when we had our Sakhis and we had tremendously high rates in some of our geographies of infant mortality and maternal mortality. And almost 80% children were being delivered in the homes in very unhygienic situations. We've been able to turn that around through our Sakhis totally. Today we have 96-98% in institutions. The few percentages that we have at home are because they went into pre-labor or they couldn't get them to a hospital or whatever it might be.
Exigent circumstances.
Exactly. But a few years ago, so let's say about 4 or 5 years ago, we actually embarked on moving with these Sakhis from maternal and child health to non-communicable diseases, because we realized, and many of us have now realized, no longer are hypertension and diabetes the diseases of urban India. They have hit rural India badly, and there is not enough happening there on this. So when we entered NCDs, we were very sure that it's hypertension and diabetes that we would work it. Cancer looked too far away to touch because we didn't know. It's no point telling a person, diagnosing somebody and saying there's no treatment facility for you. And mental health was something we thought was beyond us. But 3 years ago, when COVID hit this land and we started more talk on mental health, basically in India, mental health is ignored. And when we started looking at, mental health all over, suicides, not that suicides, everybody talked about suicides for farmers over the last many years. So, but COVID brought in a completely different dimension. People lost jobs, people came back, there was a fear of not wanting to go back. So mental health is a continuum. It is not, one doesn't have to be schizophrenic to be mental health, right? You need mental health if you're stressed. You need mental health if there's high anxiety. You need mental health support if you're just to de-stress people. And we realized we were very luckily led to, when we started searching, we were led to a very good organization in Pune, Center for Mental Health and Law.
Yes.
And they very kindly looked at the model we had with Sakhis and were willing to train our grassroots people on managing these simple mental health issues. So over this COVID first year, or maybe 1.5 years, we trained about 600 to 700 frontline people, including our health teams, on basics of mental health. And we started, asking them to start doing these little things in the villages, and you'll be surprised at what we found. Today we've got documentation to show how there are, a few tens of people who we've stopped from suicides. We haven't. These frontliners have. So they had reached, they had not only Sakhis, we also created, because during the COVID era, when everything was in lockdown, we needed somebody in every village. So we created what we called SPOCs, single point of contacts. And there were one person who had a mobile phone and was able to walk around his or her village. And so we were flooding them with WhatsApp messages we recorded on our own about 255 messages which they needed to know, starting from hand washing and all of that to moving towards more serious things as COVID went on and on. But it was these POCs who were then delivering this to all the other people within the village. And so these POCs became our volunteers frontline, and we started addressing mental health. Mental health, you hit the nail on the head, cannot be ignored anymore. And, there are absolutely interlinkages, because why does mental health happen? It either happens because there's a tremendous illness in the family, so it's health related. It could be a livelihood loss. It could be just that, there's some anxiety in the family and the rest of the family doesn't know how to do it. It could be serious debt, which has caused the family into, now taking that last mile step or whatever. So there are definite interlinkages, and that is where I'm again saying, if you're looking at prosperity for a community as your thing, you have to work on all of this.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, in fact, even I was reading something very interesting around climate action, and it was so nice that how they basically explained it was even climate change, right? The climate impact creates a spectrum of distress, and every single point in the spectrum of distress fans out into possible mental health issues, right? If somebody's crop has been affected,
Exactly.
right, they are in an existential crisis.
Exactly.
And then it's so difficult. Or if in coastal areas in Kerala, there the fish migratory patterns have changed. So they're taking their boats out, but there is no catch. Now this person has nothing, no